have all seen the crusade that these card companies have had on multiple different sites and apps and different products within Japan in the last few years. I covered this in a video a few days ago. However, there's been quite an update, and I've been doing a bit of digging into the situation, and boy oh boy, what I found is pretty damning. It is very damning, and it definitely leads into just showcasing the manipulation tactics that these card companies are currently doing to Japan and forcing them to basically censor, all in the name of, it's pretty obvious, money. Who would have guessed? A very big, large corporation that has billions upon billions of dollars would try to gain even more money. Who would have guessed? Definitely not me. Jokes aside, though, let's get into the update from the other day. So basically, I made a video, and multiple other people, and even people in Japan, talked about it, that basically there was a otaku matchmaking site made for otakus, aka those that are like anime, manga fans, and light novel fans, etc., to be able to meet like-minded individuals in Japan and be able to go on a date with them, to be able to meet them and find a romantic partner. Now, you're probably wondering yourself, if this is your first time hearing about it, why does this matter? How is this associated with anime and manga and the other stuff going on? Well, this is an ongoing crusade that's been happening to multiple different sites and companies and stuff within Japan. Once again, this dating app is basically associated with anime and manga, otakus in general. And one thing in particular, anyone that knows anything about Japanese society, they're very well aware that the birth rates are a big fundamental issue within Japan. It is brought up all the time by politicians. There's a reason why there is very consistent and iconic memes with Abe in certain memes where he says marry and reproduce. It's because Japan is heavily trying to focus on its birth problem. Japan is aware that its population is aging and it wants to have a younger population, because think about this, as people get older, they're not able to work. And so let's just be honest, this is common sense stuff. If the population of Japan gets way too old, then that means that there's not going to be a lot of people doing work, and then that means certain industry and sections of Japan will just cease to operate properly because they don't have enough workers, young people, to be able to work. So it makes sense why it is an active issue within Japan that they want to fix their declining birth rate in any way they can. So with these card companies effectively backing out from a dating site, and of any dating site, a dating site for those that are just straight up like shut-ins, people that don't normally interact with a lot of people, going on a dating app to find someone that's like-minded and find a romantic partner, that is a red alert, red flag, and it makes a lot of sense why in under 24 hours of me making my video, and a lot of other people talking about it, why they basically backtracked, that these card companies backtracked, and they said, no, don't worry, there will be payment processes with Visa and stuff on the site going forward, nothing to worry about. So the backlash did work, which makes sense. However, you can't just breathe a sigh of relief and say, oh, this is good, it's working. You can't stop now, because continuously calling these individuals out is the only way to stop them from truly being as evil as they currently are. Which gets into the main segment of this video, the main meat, because even though technically this dating site that for otakus got a happy ending, there is still a lot of evil stuff going on under the scene, or behind the scenes, that does need to be discussed. So, let's get right into that. First off, this. I need to clarify what this is. And when I first looked at this, I want to be honest with you, I didn't fully understand it. It took me a bit to fully come to terms, and even then, I probably don't understand everything about this graph. I'm just going to be honest here. But I wanted to give the simplistic terms of what is actually happening here. So basically, we have Visa, MasterCard, American Express, all that. These are like international card company brands, okay? And as we know, one of the biggest issues that Japan has been facing, all these different sites and stuff with anime and manga affiliated, Visa and MasterCard have been backing out, basically forcing these sites to either censor or shut themselves down. Now, with these cards, they operate through a middleman, aka the acquirer, as you can see here. Now, the acquirer is someone that basically processes the payments and all that type of stuff. Now, I'm dumbing this down a lot, okay? There's definitely a lot more to this than that. But they process the payments to Visa. Basically, they work with Visa or these card companies and also with the merchant or the affiliated. The affiliated is aka the store or the app, the site that sells the goods. Aka when you go into Walmart, they are the merchant. Okay, that is who they are. And then they have the middleman, aka the acquirer, that processes the money that you try to give to the merchant, aka Walmart. They give it to Visa, and then it goes in a loop around. They get their payments and all that type of stuff. But basically, you have it to where these acquirers are in between the merchant and the credit card company. And Visa and MasterCard and a few other companies have tried to outline that it is not their fault. It is actually the acquirers that are at fault for this blatant censorship and why these card companies are no longer able to operate on certain sites within Japan. Even though there has been straight up no explicit illegal activity going on whatsoever on these sites, somehow they're still pulling out. So the question is, what is happening here? So if it isn't the card companies, who's really at fault? Well, we got to look at the acquirers. Now, there is a chance that Visa and MasterCard and all these other card companies are telling the truth, that it legitimately is not their fault. There is a chance. But, and this is a big but, there is an active lawsuit, antitrust lawsuit with some of these card companies, mainly Visa, for manipulating acquirers and other little details. One quick Google search reveals this. I'll just read this here. One of the key parts of, the actual lawsuit that the Department of Justice is doing against Visa, this happened this year. This is in America, so this isn't Japan, but we can assume if they're doing this in America, they're definitely doing it in other countries. Let's just be honest. We're not fools. We're not dumb. We're not children. It's obvious. If they're going to do this in America, they're going to do it in other countries. And they're probably going to be able to get away with it as easy because there's probably not similar laws what is in America. But anyways, getting into the main point, one of the key focuses of the lawsuit is that the DOJ claims that Visa uses its power to enforce contracts with acquirers that prevent them from readily switching to other payment networks, effectively locking merchants, aka let's say Walmart or these sites that we know, into using Visa and forcing them to accept higher fees. This right here is a big detail that I think not a lot of people are aware of, which when I discovered this, it all started clicking in my head. I'm like, it all makes sense now. It all makes sense now why this is happening, at least in Japan. And why, suddenly, you have it to where Visa is allowing payments once again on the site of that otaku matchmaking site. Let's get into that. So basically, they talk about how Company A, this is what Visa and them and what these politicians were talking about to the situation with that app, okay, that I talked about a few days ago. Apparently, they felt out that they were no longer going to be able to use Visa payment processing anymore, okay? And the reason for it apparently was because of Company A. They don't name the company, but Company A is an acquirer, which I talked about as a middleman. The acquirer said, okay, we recommend you to go to Company B. Go to Company B, and they'll be able to process your payments and stuff with Visa. And they tried to set that up. So basically, if they did not go to Company B, they were no longer going to be able to have payments from Visa whatsoever. Now, I want to point something out once again with this. That acquirers that prevent from readily switching to other payment networks, effectively locking merchants into using Visa and forcing them to accept higher fees. Think about this for a second. Visa is currently in an active lawsuit, antitrust lawsuit, of manipulating the market, having a full-on, monopoly, messing with acquirers, ruining competition, and it's very apparent that Company A and Company B most likely are in the pocket of Visa. So, most likely, Visa, there's no proof, they haven't definitively said this, so right now it's up to speculation, obviously. But it's possible that Visa forced their hand of Company A to basically let go of the merchants, aka the otaku dating app, and these other sites that has also been affiliated by these problems constantly. Basically, they try to force them into going to a different company, Company B, but Company B, or even Company C, has a higher fee, higher rates. Now, what does this effectively mean? Well, it affects the user. So, Visa obviously gets more money, because if they are forcing these companies to have higher fee, for instance, let's say, obviously it's not going to be this small, but let's say, okay, Company A it takes a $5 fee to use their service, okay? Well, Visa can force company A to use $5 fee, but then they have a company B that has like maybe a $10 fee, double the actual price. And so if they lock someone in with contracts with company A, or at least with the payment processing of Visa and let's say MasterCard, then they can't effectively just switch payment processes that easy. So the only way that they can continue to operate properly within the actual company and being able to sell goods to people is by accepting a higher fee with, let's say, company B. So it's more or less why prices and stuff of certain merchants and goods go up to some degree, because of the acquirer in the middle potentially being manipulated by the card companies. Now, it might not always be the card companies, but it can happen. And that's one of the big issues that's clearly been ongoing with Visa, which is why there's an active lawsuit going on. Now, once again, I want to make sure I reinstate this. This lawsuit is in America, okay? Department of Justice. But I want to reinstate this. If it's happening in America, it's probably happening in Japan, especially since we've just seen so much pushback from apparent acquirers, aka the middlemen, in Japan. Strange. Very strange. So, yeah, there is a lot of stuff to really take away from this, but I was legitimately blown away when I was looking into it. But, yeah, this isn't the end. I think that, them trying to say, oh, it's just the acquirers, it's more deflecting. It's easy to deflect when it's very clear that Visa has ongoing history of manipulating acquirers to get what they want. So, at the end of the day, it's them just wanting to make more money. That's it. It's not even about censorship or even protecting their brand image like, what they try to say. It's them just trying to make as much money as possible by manipulating the merchants to be able to pay higher fees, which in turn makes the user pay higher fees for their certain products. Messed up, man. I'll leave it at that, though. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Be safe, stay healthy. Chibi out.